Longland67 or Shane here, just with a quick update on where I am with the Panzer 1. So you can see I got the crewmen done, the two crewmen. Didn't do too much to them. I just added added new heads. I replaced the heads with resin. I think they come from a Warriors kit or VLS Warriors kit from a few years back. It's been lying in the spares. So here's the commander. It's nice. So he's wearing like the officer style peak cap with the molded on communications, the intercom style headset, and the throat mic. It's a little hard to see here, but on the build thread I'll have proper photographs of them. So he has a pair of binoculars in his left hand, and an open canteen or mess tin, should I say. So he's a mess tin, oh my god. I need to learn how to speak. Mess tin. He has a mess tin from, an open mess tin from Dragon's Gen 2 sets. So he's like he's having something to eat. I'm gonna scratch build a fork that'd be stuck inside to make it look like it's normally he was eating something, and then he saw a bit of movement off in the distance, so he whipped up his binoculars to have a look. And then, this guy's meant to be sitting in the open crew compartment hatch, but as you can see, actually, just before I continue with that, I've closed the hatch because I couldn't get him to sit properly. He kept hovering over the bottom of the door. It didn't look realistic. So I'm actually have him sat up beside the commander up on the roof. So he has another replacement head. So it's the side cap with dust goggles. So it looks it's very kind of tank crewman Panzer style thing. Like has that real good appearance to it. And he has, which I really like, he's pointing with the stem of a pipe off into the distance. So I'm gonna have both of them. So he'd be sitting beside him, and both of them, he's seen. So whether it be the radio operator or gunner has spotted something, and he's drawing the attention of the commander to it. Nice, simple. For the painting, I have some colours on order. Should be here, I say Monday, I'd say. If not, I can just make them myself. I have Fleho Panzer Aces German Tank Crew Black. I had the wrong highlight colour, but I can mix up one just by adding a bit of white or Panzer grey or light grey into it to make a lighter shade for the highlights. So that's not a big deal. I also have another thing to do with that as well. I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, I was going to model. I'm going to be putting this on a small display, like a little diorama base, and I was kind of tying around the idea because the stowage for this is kind of unusual. It's kind of it'll be a video in itself when I do the stowage. I was going to have, if anyone knows anything about the German Fallschirmjäger, the paratroopers, they don't drop any equipment. It's not like in Band of Brothers with the American and British style airborne where they have all their equipment strapped to their chests and to their body. The Fallschirmjäger jump with nothing but a pistol, and the rest of their equipment is dropped in a canister, which is the first thing out of the aircraft, and so they could go anywhere. So I was going, I had a spare one. I don't know where it is. Hang on now. I think it's in the spares. A spare Fallschirm canister, parachute canister with the equipment in it. Oh, I don't know where it is. I did have it anyway. I haven't. Yeah. Here it is. Sorry about that. It's going to actually have that on the rear deck. That or something like that, or like that the crew just thrown it up onto the rear deck that they had spotted it, and so you could have it that they're in Belgium and they're linking up with the 7th Flingier division, which will get renamed to the 1st Fallschirm Division in 1940, I believe, or 41. So like around Ebony Mail and whatnot, and that they just came across one of the canisters got blown off course with the wind and decided just to fire it onto the back of their their Panzer until they're linked up with the paratroopers to give it back to them. However, I'm not sure. I want your advice on that. Should I find a way to have it on the back deck and make it work, and maybe even have some? I don't want to extend this build too much, but I would love to have them linking up with the Panzer, with the Fallschirmjäger, and have like the Fallschirm boys reacting to the same thing that the number 2 here is pointing at. Maybe reaching for their weapons or bringing up their own binos to have a look-see. So I'm not too sure about that. I have a few other little bits and pieces. The tracks keep breaking, nothing to worry about. Just to keep re-gluing them. So I have a small bit of stowage for it. The thing about it is actually I've no boxes other than Panzerfaust boxes that if I did put them on, I'd have to camouflage them under tarps so people wouldn't recognise them, and they actually take up so much space on the vehicle. It's kind of funny. So a few like helmets. If I have a few captured British kit as well that I was going to put on if I was going to do France instead of Belgium maybe. So if I do Belgium, I can maybe have the paratrooper container somewhere on the vehicle, you know, something, or even up on the side block like that, and have it kind of lashed onto the side of it. I'm not entirely sure. I think it's too much of an eyesore, but I'll get your advice on that. Other bits and pieces, since it's a command vehicle, I have some telephone spool that'll find it's kind of a space about here for it. That's just been thrown on the back of the vehicle as they move. A few jerry cans, one of the large mess tins that they use for keeping food warm. We still have those yokes, ironically, or something very similar. I have a few spare links. I also could be making some tarps and bedrolls and stuff just to fire onto the vehicle. Small bit of chain that I'm going to throw somewhere on the vehicle. And that's really it. Like, you know, I normally like putting a lot of stowage on vehicles, but I haven't seen that many good photographs of the type of stowage these. And bear in mind they're a small tank, so by right for, I think it's a 3-man crew inside that, they should be quite chock-a-block. And I was going to maybe put a couple of helmets that the crewmen themselves drape over the tank, like have them hanging off some of the mounting hooks and other like large or extending points, where they could hook the chin straps onto. So I'm kind of babbling here a little bit, but trying to find the right words. So yeah, so that's where I'm at this. No, it's only a small update to where I am. So I'm really happy with the crewmen. I just have to do a little bit more cleaning up work. As you can see, there's quite a bit of filling I've done on them. I used they're mounted to paper clips with a tiny, literally a little dab of super glue on them, so I can pull them out a little bit easier. And what I do is I normally make the drill incision one diameter bigger than the clips, just gives you a bit of play so I can pry them out without damaging the model, or just cut them off and sand them down. So that's where I'm at. I just have to do a little bit of clean up work, scratch build the little fork. Oh, it's going to be a little stem of a fork, so I'm just going to use a little scrap of styrene sheet, just something like that. I'm just going to cut that down and make it, and that's really it. I kind of want to get this build ready for painting as quick as possible because I have too much stuff now building up. So I have you can see the King Tiger in the background. I have that to do. I have the aircraft to go with it, the diorama. I have the striker that I'm getting sick of looking at. That's going to get painted quite soon. And I have this to do, and then I have the Buddy Build B17 with Cone. And on that note, Cone, I was watching your video. Don't rush yourself for that, mate. In fact, the fact that you won't be doing anything for another week or two actually suits me fine because it gives me time to clear my workbench of builds. I want to kind of get this underway. I want to get my striker more or less underway and finished. So take your time, but there's no hurry. So don't be putting yourself on pressure on my account because you're helping me out as well by taking your time, to be honest with you. So that's perfect. I'm just uploading that video for Drazalik on paint chipping and for paint flaking. So I hope that will be useful to, well, as many people as possible, because you know I'm not really an expert, but I hope what I do know might be helpful to some people or some beginners or whatnot. So that's it. Thanks again for watching. I've kind of babbled on now for a bit too long because I'm running out of things to say, ironically. I was going to make some more videos tonight, but I'm kind of all videoed out, so it's just going to be a couple of photo updates on the forum, and that's about it on ISM. So that's great. I hope you're having a nice weekend. Stay safe and watch out for those buses. Bye bye. Ahoy hoy, Long Lance here, or Shane, coming with another update for the Panzer 1. I've done quite a bit more, and I said I might as well make a video of what I'm up to. So we're not looking at some stuff out of the way so I can maneuver the camera. So as you can see here, I'm working on the stowage, which presented more trouble than I was expecting for a vehicle this small, because when doing stowage, it's one of those things actually I find is one of the hardest things to get right is stowage. That you're trying to balance the look that looks natural, it looks convincing, and it looks appropriate. And for a vehicle this small, it's very hard to pull off right. It's either too much and it draws too much attention away from the overall model, or it's too little and it's not noticeable. So I kind of came up with a bit of my own version or my own take on the stowage. So we can see I've made some tarpaulins. So I know let's get something little pointer stick, which will double act as my tweezer. So I made a few tarps out of green stuff. Normally I use milliput, but I don't have any on me, so I was just using green stuff. If you have the choice between, if you have the choice between green stuff or milliput, use milliput. This green stuff doesn't seem to roll out as well as green stuff. But on the advantage between milliput that can break apart, green stuff is more forgiving, I find. But the trick is when you're making a large tarp, when you roll it out, and you don't have to prepare your work surface as much as you do with milliput. When I'm working with milliput, I normally can take a glass pane from an old cheap picture frame I bought a few years back that I use for my bases. Dust this in talc, dust my tools in talc, dust the fucking putty itself in talc to stop it from sticking. Where with green stuff, you just use your cutting mat, you dampen it, as you just apply a bit of water to it, wet your tools, and off you go. So yeah, and also with green stuff, it will stick to your model, don't you have to glue it down. So I added some parts, another one here, few jerry cans, a large mess tin. It's kind of old, there's a lot of gouges in it, that I was trying to, because it's a few years old, but actually the gouges work because they look a bit like dents. I have an open gas mask case, stick grenade, shield him, or the helmet. I have another little tarp here with just a helmet on top of it. So at the moment what I've been trying to do is I'm going to be using, hang on, let's move this bit back, I'm going to be using a bit of thread. I have it sent to the camera. A bit of thread to secure, and I've never done this before in 35 scale. It's something that I should have done in many builds, but I normally get a bit lazy. But I'm going to try in this one. I'm going to try to thread the rope, the twine around, make it look like the rope. I was trying to use copper wire, or not copper wire, lead wire, but just didn't look realistic. Couldn't get it to look right, didn't sit right, didn't feel right. So that's on that. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to give you a quick 360 of the vehicle. So just to see what I've done. So yeah, it's very nice, I'm very happy with it. As I mentioned before, I closed the hatch doors, so I'm going to have that seated crew member sitting up here on the turret roof, beside the commander, who'll be up in the cupola. I'm still unsure about adding the Fallschirmjäger container or not. What do I do with it? Yeah, no. You know what I mean? I still think it could potentially be cool. But it's just, as you see, it's just too much of a sore, because the vehicle is so small that it just stands out too much, you know? Even though, like, it would make an interesting scene to have the Fallschirm boys meeting up with the Panzer divisions getting their equipment back off them that they lost in the wind type shit, you know. But we'll see about that. Again, your opinions. So I'm just leave it up there so you can see it. So your opinion on that. I'm going to bring the camera up. I'm going to bring the model back from the camera so you can see its proportions, and I'm going to bring up the camera. So there's a little bit out of focus now because I've moved out the camera's focal length. So I'm going to move you back in again, and we're back into focus. Okay. I do everything manually in this, so it's kind of funny. So that's what I'm up to. I've a little bit more work to do on it. I have a few other pieces. I'm going to leave the spool, the wire spool off, or the telephone spool off. I also have, I don't know, it seems appropriate for a command vehicle to have. It's from Further Linden's German Medic. It's their medical case. And I have a blank open spot here. And I'm thinking of actually just throwing that into this little corner. It makes sense for a command vehicle to, well, in modern terms it would, to have the medic, the company medic. I like the idea of like having the first aid kit here, you know. So I might add that, I might not. It's a bit damaged. I have to add a carry handle to it, but that can be done with a bit of copper or lead wire. So we'll see about that. Again, your opinions on that would be noted. Should I add the medic case to this little area here? I'm not going to show doing the wire cable or the rope tie downs because the camera's right under my nose and I won't be able to make it work. And to be honest with you, like, it's my first time doing it, so I don't want the camera on me because I'll be trying to talk to you and I need concentration to do it. I'll actually just show you the crewmen since I have the camera down low. So here are the crewmen. I ran out of black spray and I was painting him, so do my apologies. So again, he has a really nice commander's head on him. Headphones and throat mic moulded on, which is a lovely feature. You can see the mesh tin, nice big binos. The filling went quite well. So he'll be sitting up on the cupola. Here's the seated chap. As you can see, he had moulded on service medals. I think it's the Panzer assault medal he has. So I had a few spares lying around from some of Dragon's. Some of the Dragon Gen 2 models used to come with small fettes for their infantry with all their service medals and wound badges and whatnot, and specialty armbands or cuff clasps. So I added one there. It's nice. I hope I don't lose out when I paint it because that can often happen. You can see he has a pipe. So it's a lovely detail touched. His head is a bit small, but I'm going to keep it on. A lot of filling work on this chap, as you can see. I know it's a bit hard to manoeuvre him. I probably a little bit more filling we have to do on the pipe arm. I give him a side arm of I think that's a Luger. Actually, or is it? No, that's a Walter P99. Is it? What PPK? P98. P9. I can't. Actually, wait. I have my little reference book here, but I'm running out of time, and there's no point. So I might change out his head. I'm pretty happy with it. I might just leave it as. So I give him a side arm, and what I did was I sanded down the area on his hip where that weapon would sit, so it actually naturally looks like it's sitting flush to his body rather on top of his kit. So that's a little hot tip there for any figure modelers or any model makers trying figures for the first time. So that's what I'm up to. You know what I mean? So it's nice. I'm pretty happy with it. It's one of my best models yet, I think. Very clean. Feck all glue marks, which is always a good thing. Only lost one part, which is one part too many, but we live and learn. As for the diorama setting, it's just going to be on a road, either, depending, if I can get Fallschmaker figures quick enough, I might add the FJ units. Even just have the FJ units standing on the road beside them, rather than having the container on top of it, or have them dragging their own container. It might be just an interesting thing, like have them maybe in Belgium when they're linking up on the crossroads and the bridges around Ebony Mail, which is a Belgian fort, if anyone doesn't know that, when the Fallschirmjäger, it was 54 guys in gliders hitting a Belgian fort with 4,000 defenders, and the Fallschirmjäger took it, and he took it in the morning. And then the rest of the 7th Flinger Division, which I mentioned earlier, jumped in the locality around to seize the bridges and roads leading in and out. So basically, they were a blocking force to hold and capture vital areas, because Blitzkrieg Well, basically, Blitzkrieg, sorry, should I say, Lightning War relies heavily on roads and infrastructure being left open. So if enemy held bridges or crossroads, well, that could hold up the advance for hours, and the entire assault could falter and fail. So that's why the Germans were the first to use paratroopers in mass tactics. Like the very first to experiment with paratroopers were the Italians and Russians, but the very first to use paratroopers in a tactical sense were the Germans, and they needed those paratroopers, those Fallschirmjäger, to capture the bridges and roads for the Panzers, to keep a very speedy advance, to maintain the momentum of the assault. So that's why the Germans invested so much money. So it actually might be an interesting little diorama to have the Fallschirmjäger in some capacity in the diorama, to kind of, in a way, because I'm highlighting the two vital elements of Blitzkrieg, the Panzers and the paratroopers, who were very integral to the quick, maintaining. Everybody thinks of the Luftwaffe, they were integral too, but without the Fallschirmjäger, a lot of the vital areas that need to be captured would have taken days, and the entire attack could have failed. So anyway, that's where I'm at. A little bit of history trivia for you and a bit of tactics. So yeah, there are the headlights as I mentioned before, so I just had to seal them with liquid mask. Same stuff I was using in that tutorial. So yeah, it's grand. It's a little bit late now. It's 10 o'clock on Saturday night, so I'm going to sign off now and let you lads get out. So have a good one, have a good weekend, enjoy your night, and watch out for those buses. I'll see you now. Bye bye.